Carter grinned. Aiden adores you. Just don't let him know I told you. Aiden was the baby of the family and 1 year younger than me, but you'd never know to look at him. He was 6'1" and still growing. His best class was weight training, and, as was common with the Quinn brothers, he had a harem of girls who followed him everywhere. Once Carter graduated and I was left without my shield, Aiden took up the mantle, and his harem didn't like it, but I tried to keep my head down and ignore them as best I could. Easy to do for the most part since I was dancing more than going to classes my junior year. My lips are sealed. I tried for a goofy grin. This isn't a problem that you can make your bitch, buddy. We're just going to have to let it all play out naturally. Carter crossed his arms and studied me. If you go, I'm gonna miss your 18th birthday. I'll be back a full week before my 18th birthday. It's you who'll still be gone more than likely. You're breaking our deal, Cass. I scowled at him, my stomach churning. You broke it first by running off to war. So this is about getting back at me? No! I snapped, and then took a deep breath. No, seriously, it's not. The deal was we would have a private wedding ceremony by the dead tree with Torbig the Troll as officiant when I turn 18, right? I'm not 18. So as long as you're back at some point before I turn 19, I will view the deal is intact. Unless, of course, you find your forever love and marry her instead. At that point, I will admit that my heart will unequivocally shatter into a million pieces. I let my sentence trail, hoping my joke would lighten the mood. Carter laughed. Fucking nut. I giggled. Says the bolt. This had been a private joke I'd started back before I knew exactly what nuts and bolts were. At the time, he'd laughed hysterically, then explained the sexual connotation I'd inadvertently voiced. But still, the joke had stuck, and it had been our thing. You're coming back, right? He pressed. Are you? Yeah, Cass, I'm coming back. I slipped my hands into my pockets. Well, so am I. He wrapped his arms around me and drew me close. I pulled my hands from my pockets and hugged him back. I loved him more than I would ever admit out loud, but that was a story for another day. For now, it was time to grow up and figure out how to live my life without my crutch. It was something my mother had urged me to do, figure out how to exist in a world without Carter Quinn, but I'd always brushed her off, thinking one day I'd have him forever, that he'd see me for something other than his best friend. But when he'd been recruited for the Air Force and jumped at the chance to be a hero, I realized he'd never see me the way I saw him, so I knew I had to let him go. I'm coming to the airport, he said, his voice low with emotion. I squeezed my eyes shut. You better. I'll email you every day that I can, and you better do the same. I smiled and leaned back to look up at him. Do not go get all emotional and shit on me. Don't use that fucking language. You're too pretty for it. You're a dork. I laughed and shoved at him. Froyo in a movie? I'll buy. You're not paying, Cass, but yeah, Froyo in a movie's good. Do you want to climb back down the tree or use the front door like a regular person? We had a huge tree that happened to have a sturdy limb that was like a ladder directly to my room. Carter had snuck in on more than one occasion, mostly when I was mad at him and refused to answer his phone calls. I'd tease him because if he didn't talk to me at least once a day, he couldn't seem to function. I didn't know your parents would be gone, he countered. I giggled. Whatever. I personally think you prefer the tree. Of course, it's the middle of the day, so you ringing the doorbell would have been perfectly acceptable. He grinned. Keep it up, buddy, and there'll be no movie for you. Ooh, you scare me, I retorted as I grabbed my keys and followed him out the door. 1 week later, I stood with my dad and Carter at the end of the security line, not quite ready to say...